Okay, hello, and let's start with an intro to this RadVipe workshop. We're going to be talking about generative AI and its applications on vibe coding. And just to go back in time, when I was first contact with GPT, the first time I tried to use GPT to solve something that I was having to code was working with CSS classes. So I asked how to build a blinking button. And there was the choice also to browse that on Google and find out the code snippet somewhere. But I decided to give it a try. And then I realized that many things were going to change. You know, the moment I got this snippet of CSS and I was able to paste that into my source code, I discovered that I didn't need to suffer, as a project manager, the problem of putting that on a board, on a post-it, and push it over to Kanban, just to see that at the end of a sprint, no one took care of that and it was deprioritized, and then we could be moving with those small things. So RadVipe is a workshop where we explored the limits of vibe coding, and this is a concept that doesn't depend on your level of skill. So if you're a fantastic programmer, you can also jump with both feet into the water and start working with vibe coding, just as I did the last months. I've been working with AI for years, since later after the pandemic. I think I started putting more and more stuff into the OpenAI tools, and recently over Anthropic. And there are a few principles that I think are really worth remarking. First, this is not only a technical change, but it's especially and foremost, it's an economic change. So we're shifting now, and you can perceive that. Before, I had used to participate in many projects where I was in charge of coding stuff, and that's being gradually reduced until I have now 0 projects. And on my own startup, the same is happening. So before, we were working with a team that was kind of reducing, and at present time, I don't work with anyone. Most of the things we build directly with generative AI. So it seems that we're working in silos, and this is also a problem. We need to come out of those silos and figure out what added value we bring into our projects, either our own personal projects, our own startup projects, or working inside of a product team. So let's go into some of the cases that we're seeing here in the site as an introduction to radical vibe coding. So the idea behind vibe is started strongly because many companies are overpromising that it will change totally what you do. So they're not considering the economics at all. Take as an example Lovable. They promise that you will code something and then you will monetize that because you're going to put it on a server and launch it to massively, and then money is going to come your way in flooding your bank account, and that's not possible. To something that's not viable in terms of the overall system, the economic system. Why? Because you're not launching an app in the void. You're doing that while everyone can do that. So the mode is just completely dissolved. To make it, we'll think it over twice maybe, because 10 people, 100 people, maybe 1,000 people are just doing exactly the same thing as you are. And the other thing is you're coding something expecting that you got your app and someone else is going to, or many people are going to need that, then it's not likely because most people are turning their way or turning away from software as a service. And they're looking more into the service aspect than the software aspect. So in short, legacy is over. So if you are relying on a software stack and then you think that's the most valuable thing, then it's a total change that you're going to be facing. You can produce the same code and you can compete with your own projects with totally new architectures and stacks that you don't even know, and get better results than sticking to your legacy code. So get rid of that burden. Then the other thing that's challenging as well is we tend to work on a certain language and framework. In my case, I'm kind of more on the Python side, and I like Tornado and all these things. And I do like JavaScript, but recently I found that certain stacks are better for LLMs to understand. So at the beginning, you feel like kind of afraid of being out of your water. But the fact is that if you take that step, you'll see many things falling in place and moving very fast. And then you realize you're there not because of your thinking that you have. So, legacy is over. Coding languages are not that much relevant, or frameworks. Just forget about your experience. We don't care about the hard drive that you have or that experience that you bring. We care about the know-how and your creativity and your capabilities to innovate and adapt. That's the most important thing. And then another aspect, let's say if we think of three principles, the first was drop all of your source code, or just don't care about that anymore. Try to rewrite that, try to build it from scratch. Drop your past experiences with code. And the third thing would be think of the spillover effect of the source code. So we tend also to think that business aspects have to be treated separately from product, the coding itself. But you can also go and ask your preferred LLM, where you're working with your source code, to draft a business plan, or you can also input a request for proposals into your source code directly. So it feels like losing control. That's the challenge, and this is why this is radical, because we want to keep control always and say, no, I have the AI read the request for proposals and draft a specification out of that. That would be wrong, because I need to do that as a human. Do you? And that's a real question. So we need to place ourselves somewhere else in the process, but not as, if we place ourselves in the wrong places or try to control too much the inputs and outputs, you'll end up being a bottleneck. You'll end up being a burden to the whole. All these things are stuff that I've done, and I've seen the outcomes. And in workshop, there is structure in sessions, 60 minutes, where we will concentrate more on the problems of your team rather than explaining too much or presenting too much. And basically, we start with how do we change our identity as developers? What do we need to do? How do we change our set of skills so that we're still project and we're valuable? Especially important for startup founders, but also for team members who want to have a more important role within the team. Then what's going on with the source code economics? Why do I say that legacy is over? And why do we need to drop that and start working on new repositories of source? This is something that we'll see in the second session. Then my preferred stack, this is part of a third session. We're going to set up, and of course you can have your favorite tools and build it in, kind of personalize that to your preference. But I seen that Next and Convex and Open Router are just amazing to set up a project and to work it, in the fastest way to bring it into production. And these of course are technologies that I was expert or not. I was able to pull out things with this stack, with the Ncore stack, very quickly. Then the fourth session goes into context and prompt engineering, and specifically this process of react, kind of reflect and act. That happens at the inner loop of your process. But at the outer loop, you work with specifications. Tools tend to be really proactive, and sometimes you don't finish stating the problem when they're willing to go into solving that. And this is improving with time. You know, the latest versions that we're seeing for agentic AI are improving and are not that eager to just jump into conclusions and start coding. But still, it's important to have this process in mind, and because there are multiple loops into that. So it's let's say at these three levels of loops where you need to sit down and think and then execute. Then the fifth model is related to engineering thinking. We also call that design thinking in some other fields like UX. But in short, in this model, we're going to be dealing with contradictions, because engineering is all about contradictions. Think of the following idea. An airplane is a contradiction. Something heavier than air is up there floating. What is going on there? So this is engineering. In engineering, you'll need to deal with those. You need to find a way of making them consistent. Sometimes the contradiction cannot disappear. Like in quantum mechanics, there's an inherent contradiction in quantum mechanics that's impossible to grasp, it's impossible to understand, or even, you know, take your own intuition into that. And if vibing is related to intuition, then you know that intuition is not always good. I mean, you cannot vibe code in the terms of, or in the perfect sense of that word, vibing. You need to resort to some engineering aspects as well. Some things you know, generating energy out of nowhere, this is physically impossible. So that's a problem also with you know, with vibe coding tools, that they will maybe they're not going to tell you that. I don't think Lovable is going to discourage any of their users, saying, you know, some of your requests are impossible to fulfill. And I've seen cases many times where the LLM is taking you minutes and minutes with, you know, kind of going forward with your own dream and illusion without really telling you the truth at the very beginning. No, this is not possible, because they always want to please you. So at the end of, you know, maybe spending too many tokens and 10 minutes on something, it will come up saying, listen, sorry, but I just discovered that this is not really possible to do. So very important, this thing. And then sixth model is going to be building your own context. Now, all of these things are my own preference, but you'll maybe ahead of the game as well. Maybe you know more things that are, you know, worth exploring and putting in practice. So by all means, challenge all of the things that you're seeing and try to come up with your own process. So I've been working on many projects related with this. So let me show you some of them. One that I like a lot is this Cambrec. This is a new startup that we came up recently. We wanted to participate in a business accelerator in the US called Founder University. And we had this kind of, you know, idea of how do we build apps in seconds with AI. So many companies are moving into this field, and they said, why don't we give it a try? So the main app was developed in just a weekend. So my statement here is not that Cambrec is worth $200 million, but quite the opposite. All of these platforms that we're seeing for vibe coding may become worthless in the future. Why? Because I can reproduce them in a very quick time. As soon as I have the spec, there's no limitation with radical vibe coding to replicate all of that on your own. So you don't need to pay a license anymore to anyone, and that's going to be happening in the future. SaaS is disappearing as we know it, and the only thing that's going to be remaining there is your serviceability. Because if I want to go into a license, if I want to pay a license to a software tool, it is because of the fantastic customer service that they're offering and the advising and the contact with us as users, not because of the tool itself. So software is now zero value, and service is going to be more and more increasing. And so we're still trying to move this project as a standard SaaS, software as a service, but nonetheless as a future. Let me show you quickly what it does. So you go here and launch an app. I have a bunch of apps here. It's almost like having your apps on your mobile phone. And what you can do is you go create a new app and say, I want to test you know, security of a web page. I find apps, and then I'll get 3 proposals here. This looks interesting, Secure Scan AI. So let's click on this, and it's going to be generating this app in a few seconds. So it's not always working as generative AI. It tends to have, you know, this probabilistic outcome. Sometimes it's fantastic, sometimes it's not. So I click on the app, and then I can see here if I put the same site. Let's put this one. Or like this. If my computer would not be blocked here. Okay, scan. And let's see what happens. It's just passing over to AI, analyzing the site, and it's saying, yeah, it's returning now in a certain format that is marked down, but it's saying that there are bunches of features now wrong with this site, and I can download the report. This is cool. So you saw that was generated in a minute, and I got this as a text. So if I click here, I got the file here, and I can just bring it over anywhere else. So this is fantastic. Why don't we sell this? Because you can also do that with open source. And this one is as an example. This is on my repository. It's free, and it's you know, kind of a challenge to Cambridge, saying I'm really happy for your product, but guess what? I can pick up your specification, put that on my LLM, and generate the same thing. And this is an example. You can see the source code here. By all means, grab it, have a look at it. And this application, it's a kind of the smallest AI that can reproduce itself. So you pass its own spec, and it will be able to generate itself. It propagates. So it's an example of how all of those walls that we're intending to put on software as a service are going to be torn down by generative AI. And all of this process was based on this radical vibe coding idea. It's not trying to move step by step without breaking stuff. It's trying to outcompete yourself, try to destroy your own software, try to test it. Just like you know, in cybersecurity, you would try to test how safe a system is, how difficult to crack. Then it's the same idea. So let me show you another example. We have this amazing product that's Sync Magic. This is our software. We're running the content. They can use Sync. And this project was built also based on vibe coding in many ways, driving that with this engineering thinking. So we were able to move very fast 2 years before. And in 3 months, we had the base product, and we started rolling out to teachers. Now, what happened recently is that based on these principles of radical vibe coding, we launched a new version. The version was generated in only a weekend, at least the core of that new version. And it's based on the same concepts and ideas that we had here, except this one is didn't have that much control on the stack, didn't have that much control on the input-output. So instead of trying to be you know, on top of everything, this is an example of pushing or letting the LLM push on its own, and just steering things like you're having this. Of course, you will have this, you know, leading, or you're going to be a technical leader after all, but not going into the details of specifically how was done or using this stack or this library or this other. Just let things run. And the outcome was amazing. We got very fast to have a new product that has a better market fit for the cases that we're seeing right now in our field, and it's based on this. So just wanted to give you this quick introduction to what we're doing, and right now we're working with some teams, developing teams. It doesn't matter if you're a very advanced programmer. This is another thing that I discovered as well. If you think vibe coding is for people that don't have coding skills, you're wrong, because what you can do with the technical knowledge that you have. And on top of that, you speed up things with vibe coding tools is even more amazing than anything. So it's like really pushing the tools to the limit and seeing what else you can reach, how you can automate your process, how you can speed up. That's it for the start. I hope you're, with this, you're motivated to see more, to explore more. And in the next, we'll jump into the next sessions. Thanks for being here, and look forward to keep moving together and let you also lead the way where you want to bring this. It doesn't depend on me. I'm just going to show about my own experiences, but this is going to be depending on where you see your own limits. What do you want to do with all of this? Thank you. See you next time.